says Shaquille O'Neal admits he could never have played for JJ Redick. So these are the comments that we want to get into. We want to get into this article right now. So let's get into what the article had to say. It said the hiring of JJ Redick was met with vast approval from Laker fans, but it was also a major risk given his youth and lack of coaching experience. On his podcast, NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal revealed that he wouldn't have played for Redick had he been the coach of the Lakers when he was on the Lakers. You have LeBron's respect. What about the other guys? That's going to be the test, said O'Neal. I don't think I could have played for a guy who I just played against 4 or 5 years ago. No disrespect to JJ, but I think Sam should have been able to get the same looks. The article then continues on. Shaquille O'Neal has more authority than most to speak on what's happening with the Lakers. He's a legend of the game and an icon for the Lakers franchise. In 8 seasons in Los Angeles, the Diesel averaged 27 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game. He won 3 championships alongside Kobe Bryant and secured Finals MVP all 3 years. During his stint with the Purple and Gold, O'Neal played mostly under the legendary Phil Jackson, who had years of experience coaching Michael Jordan and the Bulls to 6 championships. Like most players at the time, O'Neal had great respect for Phil, and he tried his best to follow his lead and play how he wanted him to play. Fast forward to today, and the current man in charge of the locker room is a former NBA sharpshooter, JJ Redick. When it's time to pick a new coach this summer, the Lakers initially pursued UConn's men coach Dan Hurley before eventually moving to Redick, who signed a 4-year, $32 million deal with the team. His modest career in the NBA earned him respect with his peers, and his tenure in the media allowed the world to see the extent of his basketball knowledge. While it was enough to grant him the trust of Rob Pelinka and the team governor, Jeannie Buss, Redick may have a harder time getting players to buy in. It's only been 3 years since he retired, and many of the players active today have played against Redick at some point during his 15-year career. So that's what the article had to say there. What are my thoughts on what Shaq had to say? First of all, this is not the first time I've heard Shaquille O'Neal say things like this. Shaq has always said that it is easier for star players to listen to big name coaches over coaches who haven't really accomplished anything in the NBA. He said this before. He said that was one of the reasons it was very easy for him to follow in the footsteps of Phil Jackson and follow his instructions, quite frankly. He used to call, Stan Van Gundy, the master of panic, right? Because as you guys know, Stan Van Gundy, he would always show his emotions on the sideline. He said that he could never follow a coach like that, number one, that never won a championship, number two, that couldn't keep their emotions in check on the sideline, right? So for Shaq, he's always said this. In terms of other great players, do they feel the same way that Shaq feels? I think that there's some truth to that. I think that, but I don't know. I don't just think it's just in sports. I think that's in any endeavor, right? If you wanted to get into business and you wanted to be a businessman and you're looking for a mentor, and let's say you have a business that makes, I don't know, $1 million a year, and you're looking to take your business to the next level where maybe you can earn 5 to 10 million, chances are it's going to be easier for you to listen to a guy that's making 100 million a year and let that person mentor you, because they've been where you want to. They have been where you want to go, versus a guy who is making 1.5 million and he's here trying to lecture you or give advice on how to grow a business. It'll be quite difficult. So I think in other fields it's the same. In other disciplines, I think is the same. So I don't think that Shaq is saying anything that's controversial from that standpoint. But let's talk about what he brought up in terms of the dichotomy that will exist within the locker room between, when we're looking at players like LeBron James and Anthony Davis versus the other guys, because I think that's where things can